Derek still remembers the exact moment of the sound of her hands. Not clapping, not waving, but speaking. That's the part no one talks about. That's the part we're not supposed to remember. He had just left the morning board meeting, same pressure, same lies, same polished teeth grinning over quarterly bloodletting, when he caught sight of her near the east elevator, wiping the marble baseboards, alone, unheard. A woman most never even nodded at. Thin gray uniform. Quiet. Her badge said Nina, but that wasn't her name. Not really. He knows that now. What made him stop wasn't her posture or her silence, but the way her hands moved, like she was signing. To someone invisible, just off frame, like a conversation had been going on long before he arrived. He watched half curious, half disturbed, as her fingers carved sentences he couldn't understand, till one sharp motion locked eyes with him. And then, still signing, she mouthed a phrase. Just 2 words. His mother's name, not the name people knew her by, the one she used before the accident, for the lawsuit, for she changed it to protect him from what she saw that night. No one else in that building knew that name. No one alive. That's when everything split. He blinked, and she was gone. Just gone. Not walked away gone like a light had been switched off mid-frame. No security footage. No one else saw her. They even accused him of falling asleep in the stairwell when he insisted what he saw. But that's not the part that'll ruin you. It's what happened the next morning. He arrived for work, still shaken, still unsure if he dreamt it until the doors of the executive suite slid open, and there she was. Not in a uniform, not with a mop, but seated in his seat. Hairpinned, pearl earrings, that same unreadable expression. And beside her, a folder, no label, just a time stamp. Tomorrow's date. You're not just watching some corporate glitch in Matrix. This wasn't a promotion. This wasn't charity. This whatever this has started long before Derek was even born, before the company, before any of us had the language to describe what we're seeing now. Because here's the part no one can. Answer, what did she whisper to the baby in the daycare room 5 minutes before the power outage? And why did the baby whisper back a name no one had taught it, the name of the CEO's dead brother? The daycare footage was silent. No audio, no timestamp, just a static camera mounted in the far corner of the room, angled low toward the padded floor mats and shelves of weathered toys. The kind of footage that never gets reviewed unless someone files a complaint. But this wasn't that. No one reported a thing. In fact, Derek hadn't even remembered asking for the video. He just found it, open on his desktop, already queued, already paused at the exact frame the baby girl Eva just turned to standing unsteady on her feet, facing someone off camera. Her head tilted up, lips slightly parted like she was listening hard. Then she says something. There's no audio, but Derek sees her mouth the word, one he hasn't heard in years. Jared. His breath catches. The heat drains from his arms. It isn't just the name, it's the way she says it, like a prayer, like a memory trying to claw its way out of someone. Elsa's body. Jared had died in 1998, 13 years old, supposed drowning, closed casket. Derek was 8. But sometimes he still dreams of the hallway where Jared fell, no water, no screams, just a sound like a window shutting too hard, and his mother whispering to the floor, don't say his name. He hadn't. Not once in decades, and certainly not to a 2-year-old in the corporate daycare on the 35th floor. He watches again. The baby. The moment her gaze shifts, and then Nina, emerging just barely into frame, still in that white blouse, still the calm. She kneels next to Ava, whispers something, but when Derek zooms in on her face, something flickers. A frame distortion. Not quite static. Not quite a glitch. More like her expression skips. Like a skipped heartbeat, her mouth is moving in one direction. And then it's not, as if she rewound and replayed the moment while everything else moved. Forward, he watches it over and over. Each time the glitch gets longer, and each time his hands start to sweat faster. He tells himself it's nothing. Stress, sleep deprivation, something logical. He's in charge of 11 departments and 3 international branches. He hasn't taken a real day off since his divorce. Hallucinations happen under that kind of pressure, right? But then the glitch follows him. Later that day in the conference, Derek is briefing the team on the Q3 anomalies when the room flickers. Just for a split second, not the lights, the room. Everyone in mid-motion. Frozen, his assistant Ted, mouth open in the middle of a sentence, suddenly still like a paused movie. But Nina, she moves just her. She's standing in the hallway through the glass wall, watching him, untouched by the freeze. Then Ted blinks, moves again, continues his sentence like nothing happened. And Derek realizes no one else saw it. He doesn't say a word. Instead, that night, he drives home with all the windows down, cold air burning his face, as if punishment might knock something back into place. He tells himself maybe he's tired. Maybe he's starting to lose track of what's real. But when he gets to his apartment and unlocks the door, he hears something. A clicking sound. Fast. Repetitive. It's coming from the living room. A small speaker, the kind used for white noise. But he doesn't own one of those. It's just sitting there humming with static, and beneath the static licks, almost like fingers snapping in a pattern. Morse code? He doesn't approach it, just stands in the hallway, palms cold, heart hammering. He calls the doorman, asks, "If anyone's been inside his unit, no, sir." "No one. You sure you're okay?" Derek hangs up without answering, because that voice. The doorman's voice, it wasn't right. It was familiar, but not from the building it was. Jared's low, cracked, slight southern accent. The one Jared picked up after they moved to Mississippi for that 1 year their dad disappeared. And then, the line goes dead. That's when he starts keeping a journal. Not because he thinks it'll save him, but because he's not sure how long he'll be able to tell the difference between memory and invention. He starts small. Times, dates, what he eats, things to anchor himself. But by the 4th day, his handwriting has changed. Curved, tighter. Not his style. The entries aren't about lunch or meetings anymore. They're filled with sentences he doesn't remember writing. Don't look behind her when she smiles. The elevator was never supposed to go that high. Dear didn't. Drown. He takes it to HR. Not to admit anything, just to see if Nina's file says anything. Anything at all. But there's no HR record under Nina's name. No last name, no ID number, no employment paperwork. Just a redacted PDF titled Osprey Protocol, Tier 4, Eyes Only. He prints it. But when he returns to his office, the paper is blank, completely. And then his office phone rings. He lets it go to voicemail. But the message icon won't disappear, so he plays it just static. A minute of silence. And then a voice. Dop. Digging. She's not here for you. Click. Derek doesn't sleep that night. Instead, he does something desperate. He calls the only person left who might remember Jared. Someone he hasn't spoken to in over 10 years. His mother. She picks up on the set. No lock. Just a fingerprint scanner. And it accepts his. He doesn't open it. Not yet, because that's when the second character arrives. Monica, a former employee. She claims she used to work in PR. Derek doesn't recognize her, but her ID scans. Valid. She shows up with no warning, eyes sunken. Like she hasn't slept in weeks. She tells him she saw the glitch too. That she knows about Nina, that others have vanished before. But her story keeps changing. Sometimes. She says she worked in the San Francisco office. Other times, Chicago. Once, she says she was in daycare when Jared drowned. Derek corrects her. Jared died in Mississippi. She blinks, starts crying. Says she's sorry. Says that's not how she remembers it. She shows him a photo. It's old, printed, CRESED, Derek Jared, and her in the hallway. The one from the dream. She's in the background, staring into the lens like she knew this moment. Would matter? He wants to believe her. But the next morning, Monica is gone. No sign she was ever there, except on his phone. A recording. Not a call. A voicemail draft. Never sent. He plays it, her voice. I think they're watching from the reflections. Don't trust anything with glass. Then silence. Then her scream. Then static. And underneath the static, a soft whisper. You were never supposed to survive the pool. But there was no pool. Not in Mississippi, was there? He doesn't remember. Or maybe he doesn't. That's the problem. The basement hatch is still waiting, and this time, his fingerprint scanner is already glowing. It was the hatch. Derek knew it. The quiet presence beneath his feet had grown louder. By the day, like the building itself had lungs, and this black seam carved into the floor was its only breath. He'd delayed opening it, telling himself he needed more proof, more memory, more clarity. But the truth was simpler. He was afraid. Of what? He didn't know. Maybe it wasn't the hatch that scared him. Maybe it was the sick relief he felt every time his hand hovered over the scanner, and it welcomed him like it knew he'd return. The third morning after Monica vanished. He cracked. There were no footsteps on the other side. No draft. No whispering. Just silence and a quiet acceptance, like the room was letting him in. The hatch opened without a sound. No rust, no groan. Just a smooth descent into the kind of blackness that swallowed time. A single light bulb flickered on at the bottom. Yellow and soft, like something from a childhood basement. And the room was underwhelming. Dust, cement walls, a broken toy truck in one corner. But Derek's knees buckled when he saw the photograph nailed to the far wall. A grainy shot of a hospital hallway. His mother, 20 years younger, not standing outside a pediatric ICU room, behind the window. Jared, not drowning, not unconscious, smiling, playing with a Rubik's Cube, alive, dated 6 months after his supposed death. Below it, scrawled in red ink, he was never supposed to speak again. It made sense. Somehow, Derek felt his chest loosen for the first time in days. It wasn't supernatural. It wasn't madness. It was a cover-up. An institutional one. The kind of multi-decade silence only money and influence could buy. Jared hadn't drowned. He'd been taken. Hidden away. Probably drugged. Used for something. Maybe research. Maybe something worse. The photographs were proof. There were more. 2 folders stacked neatly in a steel filing cabinet, some labeled with the Osprey Protocol insignia, others with no names at all, just dates and blurred photos of other children. All around his age, it's all with that same 1,000-yard stare, like they'd seen something their minds weren't built to carry. A memory clicked in the back of Derek's mind. School trip, age 10, a science exhibit on human brain mapping. Remembered a woman in a white coat leaning over to whisper to him as he stared too long at the fMRI scans. Do you remember the sound of forgetting? He hadn't thought about that moment in over 2 decades. Now he did, because the sound was playing again in the basement. A high, mechanical hum, like an old VHS, rewinding in reverse. Then, layered beneath it, a woman's voice, clear, calm. Instructional. If the subject begins to recall unauthorized memory streams, initiate auditory reset sequence. Do not inform the subject they've remembered. Let them come to that conclusion naturally. And static. Derek dropped the file. It wasn't just Jared. They'd done something to him. 2. The symptoms made sense now. The missing chunks of time. The memory glitches. The haunting familiarity of strangers who knew his name. This wasn't madness. This was a program, something engineered, something buried, and he was close, so close to exposing it. That night, he did something reckless. He returned to the office and confronted Nina directly. She didn't flinch, didn't deny a thing. She just watched him, that same distant softness in her eyes, like she was waiting for a plane only she could hear. And then she said, "You're almost out, but you have to do it clean. No one can know we talked." She handed him a flash drive, no label. Back at his apartment, he plugged it into an isolated machine. No network, no cloud, just a basic terminal. Window. It opened to a single file, a video, time-stamped for tomorrow morning. He pressed play. It was a live feed, the boardroom. Every executive seated himself at the head of the table. Nina standing. She begins to sign. The same signs she used. That first day by the elevator, same ones that had seemed like gibberish, only now he understood them. You've remembered too much. They'll reset you, unless you speak first. The file ended. It was finally clear. They were rewriting memories. They had protocols, procedures. Derek had broken through, somehow Monica. The glitch, the daycare, it was all breadcrumbs. He would expose them in the morning. He would let Nina speak, would broadcast it all. That night, for the first time in weeks, he slept deep. Hard, no dreams, just stillness. He woke before dawn, showered, suited up, took the service elevator to the 44th floor and waited, alone in the empty boardroom. But when 9 o'clock arrived, no one showed. 9:10, 9:23, 9:48. The room stayed. Empty at 10:01, his phone buzzed. An email? No subject. No body. Just an attachment. Boardroom_security_feed_yesterday MP. For he clicked it, showed the meeting he was there. Everyone was. She was signing only this time when Derek watched it. He didn't understand. The signs looked wrong. Reversed. Her fingers twitching out of sequence. Meaningless. And when the camera cut to him, wasn't at the head of the table. He was standing. The static didn't stop when Derek unplugged the speakers. It deepened, like it had been waiting for silence to sharpen its edges. Beneath it, buried in frequencies too low to belong in this world, he started hearing patterns, not word shapes. Sounds that folded back on themselves like broken origami, forming something he could almost remember. And then, a new voice joined the humknot in his apartment. Not in his ears, but behind his eyes, as if remembering something was the same. As hearing it, you were right all along. The words didn't comfort him. They didn't even feel directed at him. They felt like a warning. Like someone else had been trying to reach him through the cracks. Someone who'd already seen the end of this story and knew he wouldn't survive. It unchanged. That night, Derek saw the symbol for the first time. It was drawn on the mirror in something brown and flaked. A spiral made of jagged edges, overlapping itself 6 times, with a line cut violently through the middle. It wasn't ink, it wasn't paint. And the part that made him drop his glass wasn't the symbol, it was the handwriting beneath it. Not trust the man in the window. That's not your reflection. He stared at the mirror, heart pounding, but when he blinked it was gone. The mirror clean, empty, except for him. Or the thing that looked like him. Because in that moment, he noticed it. His reflection didn't blink. Not until he did it again. And even then, it docked just half a second too slow. That's when the emails started. Anonymous. No subject. Just coordinates and timestamps. Locations Derek didn't recognize. Parks, laundromats, construction sites. Always at strange hours. 3:17 a.m. 4:06 a.m. 5:55 a.m. He ignored the first 4. Deleted the 5th. But the 6th came with an attachment. A photo of him, sleeping. Shot through his own window, dated 5 hours before he went to bed. The timestamp was wrong. Or maybe the clock wasn't lying. Maybe his memory was. The subject line simply said, "You're not the only one." He went to the next location. It was a coin laundry in an empty strip mall. 4:06 a.m., nothing open but a soda machine, humming too loud in the corner. On the wall near the folding table was a message written in red, dry erase marker. "We're awake. Find the spiral." He waited, for what he didn't know, until a man stepped in. Rough beard, disheveled, maybe late 40s, the kind of man. People walk past on the street because he seems like trouble or tragedy. He looked at Derek, said one sentence. "Do you still remember the sound your mother made when she forgot your name?"